In this lecture, we will see how we use MySQL with ASP.NET. So for that, I have thought of developing a new project from scratch and then showing you how we do that. So go ahead and open Visual Studio as you might have opened, and go to New, Website, and give it the name you want. In my case, I'll give it a name of Test Website, and be sure that Visual C# is selected and ASP.NET Empty Website is selected. Hit OK, and you should see something like this here. These things might be common now. First thing we need to do is add a new item. That would be our web form, and this time we will not leave it as default. We'll give it a name of info.aspx or anything like that. You can give anything other than default. So give info. Why I'm saying to give it a name other than default is because I should say like this: ASP.NET treats default ASPX as their real default web page. So whatever you do, default page will be displayed at first, and it has its own set of features. So we will modify it the way we want. So go ahead and give it a name of info.aspx, click add. We'll wait for it to do that. Once it is done, I will go ahead and add a text box. So there you go. So we have a text box with ID text box 1, and it is a text box. Now, next thing we had to do, you must be remembering how we go to the code behind. You just click, or I should say press F7. Press F7, you go here. Now let's do this. Let's also add a button on the top, and a button is there. When you say on click, what should happen? Let's say create a new event, and when you go here, it will show you button 1 click. If your web page is not behaving something like this, be sure that your top line is something like this, code file is this, and even if that is not solving your problem, you can go with code behind is equal to info.aspx.cs. Both works the same way, but you have to then remove the code file from there. But I will go and keep it the way it was. So now we are here. On button 1 click event, we want to connect to our MySQL and then display something from MySQL. Say the name of the person who is in the first row. Okay, so let's go ahead and open MySQL. I've already gone there and opened MySQL in my case and went to tables. Well, I also see the name is wrong. We typed the name wrong when we were creating the database. I hope you wrote it right. I'll just go and alter the table. So in case you also wrote the spelling wrong, you can just go ahead, right click, alter the table, and then FRIENDS, friends, and hit apply. Hit apply, finish. Come here again and select row 1000. So it should show something like this. So we have to know this thing. Test is our database and friends is the table name we want to connect with. But we don't have any interface to connect to. How we know, or how our ASP.NET website will know that we want to connect with MySQL? We should be adding something here. Let's go ahead and add a folder, new folder, and give it a name of app code. By default, ASP.NET treats this app code as a special folder. So you can go ahead and add a new item. It should show something like this. Go on class. We will be adding C# class. And I'll give it a name of test. No, not test. Let's give it a name of query handler. Query handler. And hit add. Once you do that, it will generate some code like this, but don't worry about this right now. I'm just showing you how to connect to MySQL. We will be learning about what this thing is, what this is. This is basically, if you want to know, this is constructor. You can read more about that. But let's go ahead and create the first method. Even if you don't know method, don't worry, just keep writing with me for some time so that I can show you how we connect to MySQL. If you go ahead and write public string, and we want to give it a name, let's say first query, and do like that. Now we will connect to MySQL. Before we do that, go ahead and add another folder, ASP.NET folder, bin folder, and then right click bin folder, go to manage NuGet packages. When you go there, it should show something like this, and we need a reference called MySQL or just say MySQL. It will show you this. Go ahead and install it. Hit OK, accept it, and it should be seen over here now. Once you do that, go close NuGet packages, and now we are ready to add some code to this method. Oh wait, we also need to do one more thing. We go to web.config. Now, it's a good time to explain you what exactly is web.config. You may be seeing for long, and you may be wondering what exactly is web.config. As soon as you add info.aspx, it shows you this thing. Well, web.config is all the configuration you set for your application. So we will give our database a name right now. And we do this like this. Under configuration, write connection strings, then hit this, and then write as I'm writing. Add name equals, give it a name, something like test database. Well, test database string would be fine. String connection string is equals to, right as I'm writing. Don't worry about if you don't know, and don't be panicked with what I'm writing. I'm showing you how to connect to database right now, to our MySQL database. So localhost user ID equals root password equals test database equals, in our case, I created friends database. Well, no, test database. Oh yes, test database, and then provider name equals MySQL dot data dot MySQL client. There you have it. So this is called connection string for our database. So the way we will be able to connect to our database will be by this thing. So we have the connection string to our database, which is connection string. Server is localhost, which is this machine. User ID is root, which we do when we go to MySQL Workbench, and then database is test, and this thing. Now we are ready to write our first method and how to deal with the database. Let's go ahead and start typing. String connection string is equal to, we say configuration manager dot. It is not showing us anything right now, so we have to use using system dot configuration. If you do that, it will start showing you everything, and you can also go ahead and type using MySQL.data.MySQL client. This is necessary. This tells the program that we are using these two library for our program, so the program understands what you're writing. For example, now if you type something, it will give you the hint what you want to type. So connection string, and start typing here. Before we type here, we need to know what did we name it. So we named it test data string. Copy it and paste inside it, and then dot connection string. We have a first line now. Then we have to write MySQL there you go. So we have a suggestion, MySQL connection con. You can give it any name, new MySQL connection, and open it with connection string we just created. Then we want MySQL command. MySQL command equals con dot create command. There you go. And then we have MySQL data reader, and then give it a name of reader. You can give any name, whichever you want, but I think these are standard. It seems standard to me. Now we'll try to open the connection with these configurations. And whenever you are not sure if something gonna work, you always put it in try catch clause. Don't worry about that, but know that this is something like try, and if something goes wrong, catch that error and inform me. So try what? We want to open open the connection, and if that doesn't work, catch the error. So exception. Those of you who have done some programming in Java or any other language where you have dealt with exception, you may be familiar with what I am writing. So we said public string first query. The string says that you are going to return a string. In case our connection doesn't open, let's return a string with this thing. Return invalid connection settings, right? And here go ahead and write command text equals select star from select star. Star basically means select everything. Now don't worry about what I'm writing. It is a SQL command that we will learn when I will be teaching about SQL commands later in the course. So select star from, what was the table name we had? If you open MySQL, it says friends. I'll copy that and paste it here. Select star from friends, and then I'll write reader equals command dot execute reader. After that, you just need to write reader dot read. Whenever you want to get some value from reader, you have to read first before you extract the value. So reader dot read, and we want to return again. Let's say valid settings plus, let's say reader dot get value, and we want to get value at position 1, which is basically number 1. Let me tell you what I mean by that. When you read the database, see what happens. You are saying select star from friends, right? In this case, you say test.friends, but in the connection we created there, here, it knows by default that we want to connect to the database test. That's why we didn't need to tell it that connect to test.friend. So we just said select star from friends, which is equivalent to this sentence. But when you execute this sentence, see what happens. It gives you both the rows, right? So reader contains both the rows. When you said reader.read, it is at first line right now. And when you say reader.getValue at position 1, position 1 is this, and that 1 means index. So the sentence we just wrote here, get value 1, this is index. If you have done some other programming, you may be familiar with that index starts from 0. So we get reader.get value 1, so it will give us name. Okay, now I guess we are ready to execute or run our program. But before we do that, let's see what else we need. Well, you also should know when you are done reading your database, you should do these two: reader.close and con.close. In this case, it may never reach to this code because if anything wrong happens, return will occur before any of this. So when we read this, we can just go ahead and paste it here. We may not need this because we just are reading one thing, and you can also do this. We can even go without that because I see I was doing something. You may be wondering I was doing something but I didn't do it. Well, I see some complications over there. We will work towards that, but if you have got this far, go to info.aspx. Now as I told you earlier, when you have a folder, a app code, and then you have a C# file, you can reference to that. It works like a class. So you say query handler query equals new query handler, and then you write query dot first query, and I will set this into the text box we have, text box 1 dot text. Now I think we are ready to go. I will hit Google Chrome, or better say run the application. Once we run it, and when we hit button 1, it should show up valid settings and first name from the database. Let's wait for our application to run. Okay, so we are here. When we click button, it goes into the database and then produces an error. We'll figure this out. I paused the application over there. I stopped the application and tried to find for the errors, and I found that our web config had something misleading. So go ahead and compare it with this text. If everything is exactly like this, it should work now. And if there was something misleading, go ahead and change that like this. There should be no two space over here, and there should be no space over between these strings. Now if we start the application again, you will see that when you click on button, it says valid settings. That means our connection opened. But now if you go to test data string, just the string, change something and go back here, try to run program again. Let's see what happens. Since we know this is wrong credential, we hit button. It says object reference not set to an instance of object. Well, sometimes it gives you a meaningful error, sometimes it doesn't. So we'll just go ahead and make it the way it was, so that our connection works. Now that we are connected to MySQL, I will tell you one thing. Right click this and set it at start page, so that when you are on any of the page and try to run your project, it will always open info.aspx before any other page. And you may be wondering how that can help you. Well, when you have an application, when you want the user to log in before they can go on any other page, you want your application to start with a login page. So that's when this thing is used. You just right click, set as start page, and you're good to go. For example, if I'm on query handler, I hit that, see, it opened with info.aspx. Connection is valid. We get that. This was quite a long video. I hope you are happy to know that we just connected with MySQL. We will learn more about this in the coming lectures. I hope to see you there in the next lecture.